Hi, my name is Masha. I'm the blonde from Coding Blonde, and I hope you guys are ready to be inspired because I have interviewed an awesome person who is an engineer turned data scientist, and you also might know her already as Big Data Gal on Instagram. Her name is Lillian, and she is such an inspiration to me. She's such a badass, and I can't wait to share her story with you guys. Thank you so much, Lillian, for giving me this interview. I'm super excited for my viewers to hear about your story.
Thank you so much for the request. I was flattered and honored.
I know you're busy, so thank you so much for finding time. And let's jump straight into it. My first question is about your journey. How did you get to where you are right now? Was it a direct path or did it have some twists and turns? How was it?
Yeah, so it definitely was not a direct. I got my degree in environmental engineering, and now I'm a data scientist who specializes in training and advising. So there were lots of twists and turns. However, I think that this is the journey, like, of anyone that's going to be successful in the tech field. If we want to stay successful, we have to keep evolving because the industry changes. So like 20, 30 years from now, I don't expect that this is what I'm going to be doing. If I have that expectation that I can just latch onto this subject matter and, become like the master expert in this subject matter and never have to like change, then I'll probably be unable to find work in 20 or 30 years. Yeah, and so now I'm an entrepreneur and business is great, and I'll tell you what, it's insane. In a good way, but kind of in a bad way sometimes too. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes a lot of work is overwhelming, but when you have a lot of work, that's definitely a good sign.
Especially a sign that you need to try and hire someone good.
Yeah, delegating is also very important and a skill for sure. And what was your decision-making process? It sounds like a big shift from environmental studies to data science. What was the decision process along the way?
So the first thing I wanted to clarify about that question is that I have a degree in environmental engineering, not in environmental science. So I am also a licensed professional engineer, and as it's just an important distinction between the two. Within my role as an engineer, I really enjoyed the data modeling work. I was always working with data systems and with making predictions and with data management. And I enjoyed that work. The design work, the part about designing, water treatment plants and picking valves and all that, looking at like pump specs, that just was not the part that was not interesting to me. So it was a natural evolution. However, the process is always the same for me. To accomplish any goal, I do reverse engineering. So I start off by looking at where I want to go. And then I figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get there? And then I start doing it, and then I get there.
That's awesome.
So it's the same for data science. It's the same for everything in life for me, really. I figure out what I want to do, and then I figure out what I need to do to get there, and then I do that, and then it works.
It's nice that you have figured out that process of reverse engineering for all of the decisions that you need to make. It's probably much easier to kind of create a path that way.
Yeah, because I think you're going to talk about like obstacles in careers and stuff. And for me, like, I cannot, anytime I've tried to depend on another person, like follow the path and like do status quo and like depend on gatekeepers, that didn't get me anywhere. So I don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually my next question about the challenges you faced along your way. What challenges were they, if you don't mind sharing, and what have you learned? How have they made you stronger?
It's a little like hard to answer because with every situation, in business, there's good aspects and bad aspects. I found being an employee, like working in a company and having a 9-to-5 job, I found that quite challenging. So I will say that like I needed that experience. I got a lot of amazing experience in that type of environment that I wouldn't have otherwise. And I draw upon that now as an entrepreneur. So like I needed that, and I needed it also to get my license. So there was so much that was good that came out of that. However, I don't do well being told what I'm capable of, because I know that I'm capable of pretty much, anything I set my mind to. So I found, sometimes I found those environments somewhat limiting. And also there was some pretty big issues with, okay, so this is another like plus and minus type of issue. There was pretty big issues with discrimination, in my opinion. And so I'm a woman in tech. I got a degree in engineering. And I'm also was raised from a traditional American family from like 50s, like women should be school teachers and housewives, and, keeping a beautiful appearance is of, utmost importance. And my mother taught me, like, this is something that's valuable to you in life, is to be keeping up a good appearance and try to present yourself as a pretty person. I had all of the things, that you could, the makeup lessons at 12 and all of the things that went along with being, a woman from the society that, I was raised in. And I don't think anything is wrong with that, but that's part of who I am. And I enjoy, like I'm a feminine person. And I enjoy doing things that could be classified as girly. So I like makeup. I like to go and get my nails done. I like to go to massage. I'm not like a aggressive personality. But that doesn't detract from my skills or my talents as an engineer. And I found that when I went into the field, that people would look at me, and I had my hair very blonde, say, oh, bubbly blonde, must not, and just automatically peg me as like not capable of doing what they call hard skills. And I found that followed me around in the field. People would just automatically make that decision based on the way I looked and the way I spoke. And then I also found, like, as an employee, you're afraid usually to lose your job because you have reliance on income, right? So I found myself sometimes in situations that were inappropriate, and I was afraid to say anything, like not extremely inappropriate, but a few times in my career, I've almost quit my job because I didn't want to lose, I didn't want to lose my job by saying, you're making me feel incredibly uncomfortable by, the lack of personal space here, the lack of boundaries here. However, so I didn't want to lose my job. However, I was not going to go along with the direction that, in situation, like I'm even afraid to talk about it now. See, I'm afraid to talk about, really, this is sexual harassment. And I've been self-employed for 6 years, and I'm still afraid to talk about it. But like, I almost just would, in one situation, I almost quit my job because I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. So I'm going to need to quit my job because I'm not going to go along with what's happening here. And so that was an issue. And then on the other side of the coin, this is after, I got my degrees and license in engineering, and I have to deal with this sort of thing. So like, you think, okay, you get a competency in something, pretty like tough. You shouldn't have to deal with you shouldn't have to deal with the same type of issues you deal with if you had a job as a bartender or like serving drinks at like a bar, right? Like you would think, I don't have to deal with that anymore. But as women, like even I've known like doctors, really, one of my friends, she has to deal with the same thing, and she's really tough about it. She's a beautiful, blonde, bubbly woman, and she's also done like, I forget what it's called anymore now, like 12 years post-grad in medicine. So she's got like specialty in all this stuff. And like, she deals with the same issue. So like, it helps for me to talk with other women and get that kind of like, okay, I'm not alone and this is how you deal with it sort of thing. And there's also another issue that I found quite frustrating as an employee. There's also discrimination by other women. So I think it might be competition in the workspace or feelings of like, I don't know, I just had some like, one time was called into an office and told like my ankles were showing because then the boss was like, I'm sorry I have to say this, but the other women, like something about my ankles and like their ankles show too, but they didn't like the fact that like it was, so there was, I think I've been in situations where I felt like other women were either jealous or felt threatened. And so they would either like, so they would try and subjugate me. And whether it be by like saying, oh, you know, like she shouldn't be wearing like her ankles are showing or something, or like even everyone's laughing at this person, right? But other situations where women would be like, you could tell maybe they were more threatened, and so they would just give me the stupid grunt work or like just like you know, just like complain about the way that I talk and just try and subjugate me, like doing gossip and like working in a hostile environment where there's like this sort of animosity that is tolerated, really. Like if you want to keep a good worker happy and employed with you, then you need to treat them with respect and not let other women in there like dog them out, you know, like have some boundaries. And so I found it was very hard to be in an employment position because I didn't have a lot of latitude. There was full dependence on, you know, this infrastructure. So now if I'm in an environment where the client, you know, I train men from Saudi Arabia on a regular basis. I train them about data engineering and data science. And that's really quite tough, you know, but it's working. I've been doing that for a few years. But see, if there's any point where I decide I'm not comfortable with this arrangement, I can just, you know, like I can finish my agreement and I can get out of that. I don't have all my eggs in one basket. Or if I feel like this person just, you know, they're not, either we don't vibe well, or I feel like they're pretty disrespectful, well then they just need to leave I don't have to have them in my sphere. You know, like I've got my own thing going, and if they're not a good fit for what I've got going on in my business, then more power to them, and I'm happy for them. But I'm not stuck dealing with people that, you know, that are really toxic, you know, that bring you down. I don't want to have to deal with those type of people. And I found that in being an employee, sometimes, you know, like you just have to deal with things that are less than fun.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that you had to experience all that. That sounds, yeah, like a toxic environment that wasn't empowering you in any way. But it's amazing to see that you managed to find your own way and build your own company so that you don't have to deal with that anymore. And
I thought that was this stuff is normal. No? When you talk to other women, are they not reporting the same thing?
oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, you know, it takes courage, and not everybody has that courage. And so I just hope that somebody who might be facing the same situation hears your story and just gets that, you know, finds that confidence in themselves to build their own path. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started this series of videos, because I think that women are just super capable of everything, and sometimes they just need a little, like, not a push, like a little nudge, like you can do it. And that brings me to my next question, which is, what is your superpower?
As an engineer, I had to know how all of these systems worked, and I needed to know how to design systems. But then most of the work that I did was actually in technical planning. And in strategy development, like strategic plans. So same thing in data science. I can do data science. I enjoy programming. I enjoy, playing with predictive models, and that's fun. However, I really enjoy pulling all of the elements together from the entire space of data engineering, data science, analytics, and putting together strategic plans that actually takes this, this predictive coding and turns it into real business value. Like the whole, so if you had to describe the role that I see myself functioning best in, I would say like I prefer to function as the expert who knows exactly how each of the components connects together to create the business value. Instead of just the expert of the one little component, I like to be the system designer, if that makes sense.
I love that. That is definitely very important, and it's awesome that you have over the years found that this is what you're good at, and this is what brings you joy as well.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's fun. I like that.
That's awesome. And what is your next adventure?
Okay, so I am publicly launching my data strategy services as soon as I'm able to. Right now I have clients, but I haven't actually marketed the service at all. So I'm going to launch that. And then I'm hiring a new content creator. I'm excited. I'm starting a podcast with Miko Yuk. So we're still working on the name. It's going to come out in the next few months, and she's got experience, but we're going to be, I think it's going to be really awesome. So yeah, that's my newest upcoming adventure.
That's awesome. All of those sound very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to that podcast because I'm obsessed with podcasts. And yeah, it sounds like you have very, very interesting things ahead of you. And my final question on the Inspirational Women series is, what would you recommend to women who are trying to build their own path and design their own lives and design their own careers? What would you say to them?
I would say what really helped me was this exercise I got from Chris Guillebeau. So I started following and listening to some podcasts back in 2012 and heard of Chris Guillebeau, who at the time he was trying to travel to every country in the world before he was 35, and he's never had a real job. He's an entrepreneur. And I was super excited and inspired by him. And he had an exercise. Basically, if you Google it, it's called Ideal Day Life Exercise. So you can Google it and pretty much figure out, find it. And then you do the Ideal Day Life Exercise. You figure out what your ideal day looks like. And then you figure out after that, what do you need to do to get there? And I did that. And so I had this vision of living in Thailand and having domestic help and having my own business and waking up and checking emails and having time for yoga. And but I was just, working in a cubicle job, not making that much money. I think at that point I hadn't even learned how programming really very from a working perspective, only when I was a kid. And I think it was, gosh, how long ago was that? That was 6 or 7 years ago, and now, we're going to have 3 properties in a bit. I live in Thailand, travel the world all the time, serving clients, and everything that I wanted on there that seemed totally outrageous, travel the world, make a lot of money, have help, all the things, the ideal day. It's totally come true. And now I'm working on part 3 of what is my ideal day. So it's a powerful exercise because you set the vision, and then it's just reverse engineering. Okay, figure out how you're going to make it happen. Also, I found it helpful to do the exercise in the 4-hour work week about the dreamline exercise, because you start realizing how much you could actually, by Tim Ferriss, in the 4-hour work week. He's got an exercise where you figure out how much money do you actually need to do whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And it's usually not that much. It's like, it helps you like shift, get out of that fear-based thinking that society gives you of like, these are your options because these are your options and there's nothing outside of these options. So you work within the parameters we set for you, and you start realizing that it's a really, really big world. There's a lot of people that you can help, and there's so many more opportunities than are prescribed to you, like from the perspective of just coming through American school systems and graduating and getting a job.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are exercises that I'm definitely trying tomorrow, literally.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then the path will be yours, we all have our own journey. And like, that's the great thing about it is like there's no competition even like I have a coaching program for people in data space or tech professionals. And there's no competition because like Masha is Masha and you have your value and you have your thing. And it's like, there's no one else that can be you, can do what you do, can deliver what you deliver. And so like, and there's no like, so someone could hire me or someone could hire Sarah or someone can hire John and then they can hire Masha. And like, we're each going to cover, even if we're doing the same thing, we could cover it and offer something different in it. You see what I'm saying? So like, I'm totally against the idea of like the zero-sum game. Life is not a zero-sum game. There is no like finite resource. There is like room for us all. And I think I just want everyone to get to enjoy, that freedom, including myself, which is why I need to hire someone to help me with my business.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that advice, for sharing your story, and for being so authentic and so honest. I am really hoping that a lot of women watching this will get inspired and will shape their own path.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've really been honored, and I hope it helps someone. This content hits the person that needs it, not that needs it, but the person that wants it right now. Like this is going to help people, but who knows who. Hopefully, I'd like if you found value in this conversation and you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me through just send an email through the email addresses on my Instagram. So just hit email and then send me a message and I'll be happy to follow up with and get to know you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Your story is amazing, and despite all the difficulties and the hindrances you had along the way, you pushed through and you've managed to build and create the life that you love, and that, day to day, every day is a paradise. So you are incredible. That is super inspiring. So I hope you guys watching this also got inspired by Lillian's story and on how she's progressed and how she got what she wanted. To stay updated on what Lillian is up to, you can follow her on Instagram, and I will leave the link in the description. So scroll down right now, and if you're not subscribed to Lillian's Instagram, go do that right now. She's awesome. And of course, subscribe to my channel and follow me on other social media at Coding Blonde everywhere. And yeah, have a wonderful time of the day you're currently experiencing. Bye.